Hello everybody, my name is Oliver Herbold, and for some of you I'm best known for my landscape photography. Well, in times when the entire country is on lockdown because there's a virus out there who really wants to catch you, there is only one sensible thing to do: stay at home, or at least don't go any further than into your own garden. Landscape photography in my garden isn't really an option, but like many others, I remember that years ago I was purchasing a macro lens, and I've never really used it. I'm not a macro photographer, but yeah, I've decided to take the dust of it and find out what it really can do today. Let's go to my garden and see what we can find. Alright, so here's my tiny little enclosure. At least I am lucky to have a garden. Some of you don't, I know that, but we're gonna find something indoor, maybe in another video. If we're looking down to the ground, we can see the odd dandelion. Okay, so a dandelion itself is not the most beautiful thing in the world, but I figured out yesterday they're opening in about 2 hours time. Unlike yesterday, as you can see here, it's a grey and dull day. There isn't really any sunshine. I have no idea if they will fully open or not, but my idea is to create a little time lapse and to see if I can make it visible over the duration of maybe 2 hours how the flower opens. I have no idea if it will work or not because, as I said, I'm no macro photographer, and that's going to be a very steep learning curve today for me. I want to guide you through the entire process, what gear I use, how I try to do it, and even the processing later on. Don't know if it will be failure or success, but it's certainly worth to give it a try. Let's go. Alright, let's talk about a little gear I have prepared. First of all, we have my trusted camera, one of my cameras. This one is the 7D Mark II. The reason why I'm choosing this one today over the 5D is it has a built-in intervalometer, which is exactly what we need. I've also prepared a flash, because I said it's a grey and dull day and we really need to get some light in it to make the colors pop, to make it lovely. There is a difficulty. It's because I'm planning to take about 350 photos. I have no idea if that flash is going to survive. 2 tripods, one for the camera, one for the flash, and in case I'm gonna need it, something I've never used before, which is a little angle viewfinder. Interesting piece of kit, might be helpful. Let's see if it works. Okay then, let's grab that stuff and set it all up. Alright, so this one here is the little guy I'm hoping to get. First things first, we need to find a composition. Let's do that. Okay. There are a few disturbing components, so I need to do a little gardening first. First of all, some of these pieces here gotta go away. Some right in front of my lens. It is my own lawn, so it's alright to do that. Have you ever tried to cut your lawn with a scissor? So, everything disturbing is out of the way. Let's finalize that. And we start firing it. Let's see how that goes. Well, talking added difficulties. Being down on my knees and bending over in awkward positions while trying to film what I'm doing wasn't that easy. Okay, the setup's up and running now. Quick run through what I've done. The camera is set to manual mode. We're at 125th of a second on f11. f11 because I was trying to really keep the entire flower in focus. I will have to learn a lot about lighting and macro photography. It's certainly not that easy, but yeah, let's go through that process together. I will report how that goes. What it does now, we're taking one photo every 30 seconds. I have no idea if that is a good choice or not. As I said, it's the very first time I'm doing that. Now the principle of hope. Hope for two things. First of all, the bloody flower will open. I really hope so. And the second thing I'm hoping for is that my flash, or exactly the batteries of my flash, will survive. And I'll be back later with the post-production and see if we can create something. Alright, I'm back. The time is up, it's about 2.5 hours later, and there were a few surprises. First of all, can you see it? The sky, yeah, has some texture. That means the sun was out in between, so we had changing light conditions. Which means in the shots, I've seen it in the previews, I do have quite a little bit of the background, which I wanted to avoid. Okay, mistake made, lesson learned, box ticked. There are a few good news. My flash is still working, roughly about 300-350 shots later. So the battery survived. But there are a few downsides. Let me show you this. Here's the camera angle, and as you see, that bloody little flower was leaning towards the other side, so I didn't get the opening. It's the first time I did it, and a few mistakes were anticipated. So let's stop everything, bring it in, load the images onto the computer and see what we have done. Okay, got all the images on the computer now and imported in Lightroom already. When we're scrolling through them, we see a few issues. First of all, you see that, especially here in the top left corner, you can see pretty well, we have darker images and brighter images. And well, a few darker ones, and again this is mainly because of the changing light conditions, and I did not block enough of the ambient light out. Good, another mistake I made. Let's see how we can fix it in Lightroom. Another thing, when we're just checking a few images here, and you see there's slight movement in between. This is something I do not intend to fix now. Let's see how that turns out in the time-lapse itself. What I don't like is we have a very dark top and brighter at the bottom, and when we're trying to reduce all that ambient green and ambient light, and let's focus on the flower itself, it might look more appealing. Let's see what we can work out. Yeah, and obviously, I mean, have you noticed? I said we're creating a time-lapse movie and I'm choosing a portrait format. I mean, vertical video syndrome, really? Anyway, we have what we have now, and let's keep the rest nice, simple and clean. So first things first, I need my glasses. Here they are, and now I see what I'm doing. I'm simply choosing the first image of the entire series, changing to the developing module, and we're gonna do all the modifications in this single image. So first of all, what I always do, profile correction and chromatic aberration. That lens doesn't really have produce aberrations, and it doesn't do too much, but it also doesn't do any harm. Next, in the white balance, it actually looks pretty cool. Let's see. Yeah, the standard flash setting, that will do. Next step, we're taking the exposure just a hint down and increase the contrast. Take the highlights out, because here right in the center we have a bit, yeah, I think the highlights are a little too intense. And yeah, don't touch the shadows really. In terms of white balance, let's see where we're going. Yeah, finding the white point. Okay, the black point doesn't really help. So let's focus on the flower itself. Yeah, I'm beginning to have something in here. Not too much. Next step, let's try to fix that bottom part, which is way too bright. Let's choose a gradient filter and see what happens. Not too much, because I don't want the actual flower to be affected too much. That's what it is. And maybe shadows a little more. Yeah, something like that. That'll do. In the next step, what happens when we're working here with the texture? Not too much, but when we're reducing clarity, that might actually help to make it look more appealing, and in that case we can turn the highlights out a little more just to make sure nothing is blown out. The dehaze function may help us with a background to isolate, but don't overdo. Now we're having a pretty black image, so let's make the colors pop a little, but again, don't overdo. Finally, in the curve section, add a little more lights, and turn the darks a little more down. The color we don't really need to do a lot, because we're working on Lightroom only for the entire series of 341 images, not using Photoshop, so let's do the sharpening in here. But the masking is pretty important, because nothing looks worse than sharpening unsharpness. Don't overdo that. And let's see if we need a little noise reduction. And the same for the color. Already looks pretty appealing, but I still want to use a radial filter. That area. Show the overlay. Just to get rid of that background. Yeah. And add contrast and make the entire thing darker around there. That's pretty much it. So the next step, we're selecting all of the images, 341 images from first to last, and synchronize our settings. We're checking all and synchronize. Just let it run through. Should work pretty quick. Just lean back and wait a moment. And we are done. What happened now, we have the settings copied from the first to the last image. They're all the same now. Okay, just trust it. And the final step is we need to export them. Export. Because I said it is a portrait format and we want to create time-lapse, time-lapse in the format of 1080p. Let's export the images with a long edge in the vertical of 1600 pixel. That gives us a little space to crop some stuff, some unwanted stuff out. And yeah, just let's export it. That's gonna take a while, and therefore I'll be back in a second. Okay, the export is finally done. It took quite a moment, but that might be dependent on my system. And let's just see what we got. We don't need Lightroom anymore. Here's the folder where we've exported everything. Let's just take the first image into the preview. Let's take one right out of the middle and one from the end. And yeah, beginning, middle, end. Okay, this is what we got. And now let's make a little time lapse out of it. To do that, we need a program to put the single images into a time lapse. My choice here is my video editor, Davinci Resolve. And I've opened here a little project. Let me check the settings. Yeah, 1080p, 25 frames per second, pretty much my standard settings. This is what we want. And now we import our images. And we just select them all. and import them in Resolve. So here they are all together. Put them on my timeline, and that gives us, as we see here, 13 seconds of video. All that effort for 13 seconds of video. Okay, let's do something different. We duplicate that and we fake it a little, so the Dandelion will open and close again, and overall it gives us 27 seconds of video. Okay, we got it all together. A little fake, one time forward, one time reverse, just to extend the duration. And what we have to do now, we have to export it as a video. Let's choose some standard settings, give it a name. And not QuickTime, I want it as an MP4, 1080, 25 frames. Yep, add it to the render queue. And export it. Doesn't take too long. And this is it. Don't forget to save the project. And here it is. So this is it. No magic, no wizardry, just a lot of photographs and a little bit of editing in Lightroom. Again, no magic. Put them together as a time-lapse, and we're getting what I think a rather pleasing result. I said at the very beginning I was expecting to make quite a few mistakes, and yeah, I did. So there is still a lot to learn for me, especially regarding the lighting and macro photography. I will have to experiment with quite a few light modifiers and see how I can optimize my results. More mistakes will be made, I'm pretty sure, but let's hope that we're learning from them, and yeah, we're not making the same mistakes twice. This is it for today. We're at the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.